Welcome back to the Crypto Junkie channel. Well, let's dive into really interesting topic here. We're going to take a macro view at the crypto space and just what's really gone on and changed. I'm fascinated with, I don't know why I am now, and I wasn't before, like when I was, say brand new to crypto, but I'm fascinated now with the history and like what's actually going on with Bitcoin now. And is Bitcoin the best? What's going on with ETH right now and the development of ETH and all of these sub chains and layer ones, layer twos, etc. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but the crypto space has gotten pretty big. There's 5,000 plus coins now, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out like all these coins aren't going to make it. I'm sorry to burst your bubble if you were thinking that, but no, there's not a place for 5,000 coins in a financial system. There's just not, okay? And so it's going to make it really interesting what occurs next. And I'm kind of driven by this tweet right here and this sentiment. And I'll read it to you. The big short is coming from many of these layer one vapor chains. I do recognize the possibility of a multi-chain future, but we've hit a stage in the market where every ghost chain is getting max bid supply due to speculators trying to ape into the next AVEX. This won't end well. This is kind of a take on a lot of things like the framing of tweets from like Michael Burry, the original guy from The Big Short, and things like that. So he does have a really good point though, is that, and you see this happening, a lot of new projects getting max bid when they get listed on FTX or get listed on other major exchanges. They get max bid up and nobody really knows what it is or what it does yet. You're seeing this in NFTs as well. You're seeing a lot of new releases and seasons and character sets, whatever you want to call them, of NFTs that just get max bid because everyone just thinks like this train of just rolling along. Here's what it looks like. Here's what we're doing right now is we're literally just, it's like a bouncy ball and it's like, new project. And so what's happening here is these are the new projects and this would actually represent the cycle as well that's occurring in terms of price action. But all these things are just happening. We're just kind of going further along and it's going to eventually go like this and flatline and just go like this and die. And that's going to be a representation of entire marketplaces. NFTs will make it and they'll be around, but it's going to look completely different than it does now. I feel really bad for those that are aping into their entire portfolio and not using it as a means to flip and using it as a means to make permanency in their portfolio because they're going to get just wrecked. And so yeah, that's what it looks like. We're just jumping from thing to 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 thing. And what's happening in the trail of this is just absolute bloodbath is happening because all this retail is like jumping in and bagging up, and they're bagging up as the price is going up, and then the price just does this and it's never going to go back for some of these coins. And I understand that this is contradictory because basically at this point you can point back to any 2017 coin, not any, but a lot of them, and they all bounce back. Well, how many of those ICOs from 2018, 2019 didn't make it? How many are gone today after 2-3 rebrand attempts? Gone, right? And they just kind of like subtly disappeared and nobody, oh yeah, I forgot about that. How many of those exist? How many dead chains exist right now? Tons. So, and it comes down to a few things. It comes down to really bad marketing and not having enough users, because it's like there's a ton of really cheap chains, but yet why is everyone still using ETH? If there's like, chains that exist that'll cost a fraction of a penny to send transactions on, why is ETH still the dominant where it costs like $50 to $150 to send money? It's fucking retarded, right? But yet here we are. So what that proves is that, one, it proves that a lot of these projects are really fucking bad at marketing. And two is that it takes more than just going out and saying like, we got the cheapest chain now, guys, everyone come on over. Like it kind of worked for Binance when they came out. It kind of worked for Poly, Matic Network, and that's about it. Like I can't think of another chain that's getting a ton of adoption. And so what's starting to happen now is that narrative is still kind of there, and that's kind of creating, so that sub-market gets its, jumps. We're jumping from thing to thing to thing, right? AVEX, etc. Like Polkadot and all of its sub-projects that they're launching on their launch pad, right? Because everyone's kind of thinking like, everyone's going to jump into this because it's cheap transactions. Well, that's actually not going to happen. We've seen now that it doesn't actually matter because marketing needs to back up. We need to have liquidity provided and it stay there. And so it's just causing these massive rugs that are unofficial rug pulls, essentially. They're not like developers bailing out, they're just liquidity being pulled and you can't do anything with your shit now. You can't sell, you can't do anything. And so that's what's happening along the way. So this is happening in NFTs, it's happening in layer ones, it's happening in a ton of other DeFi stuff, is that as we're jumping from thing to thing, right? And as the price, like I showed you, is going up and then crashing and dying, these things are never gonna go back up. So it's like they're just dead down here, yeah? They're just below here, just gonna chop around for who knows, eternity, just chopping around down in the gutter, in the shit, essentially. A retail investor let's say he went in with, he started with a 10K portfolio right here, okay? Well, what happens when he gets bagged up on 1,000 here, gets bagged up on 1K here, and my drawing is awful, bear with me, I don't have a Wacom tablet or anything like that, I'm doing this with mouse. He gets bagged up for another 1K here, another 1K, another 1K, but then he starts getting scared, so then he wants to win back and he goes twos, and then he's got $0 left. So how many dead chains does retail have to jump through? How many dead NFT projects where the floor doesn't ever get raised? How many of these dead dog shit things have to keep getting duplicated before eventually the whole market just gets sick and tired of it and we go into a bear market? Going back to what I've been discussing over and over and over again on this channel is that people are hunting for edge right now. Well, it's not, I actually haven't been discussing it on this channel, I discuss it in general. I write about it in my emails, I write about it all over the place that I can, right? With people that are gonna listen, is that people are hunting for edge right now, okay? I'm trying to erase my mistakes here. We made some big upgrades to this tool, by the way. Bang. All right, so people are hunting for edge, and that's why it's getting, the speculation bubble's getting bigger and bigger and bigger in these things. You know, that's why back when, at the peak of the first bubble, let's call it, was the top for Bitcoin, but also it was the top for Doge. It was the top for all of these meme coins. So we've already now seen the top come in for meme coins. Now that might actually signal that we're done. That was the end of the bull market and now we're in a bear market. You know, the 20 something days later, ETH hit its top, and then there's a lot of indicators there that is actually indicating that we hit our top. We might have, we might not have. But I'll just say that, you know, for meme coins, it hit its top. Are those things ever going to recover? I don't know, probably not. And now ask yourself this, how many staking, vaulting, liquidity providing coins are getting launched now? I mean, there's at least 5 a week. And so it's like, how long is that gonna take until that wears itself out? Because it's like, again, your average investor, maybe he's got 5K, 10K, what's he gonna do? Like he's fooling himself into thinking that he's hunting for the highest yield, but even when he's getting the highest yield, it's not really gonna do much if there's impermanent loss, if there's IP that's occurring. And so his coin that started off at 1 penny gets cheaper and cheaper. His coin went up to $1 and it gets cheaper and cheaper, and he locked up for a longer period of time. But because of negative metrics that are affecting the entire DeFi space of all this staking and vaulting crap, because there's just way too many players in the market now, you know, that guy's gonna lose most of his money. So it's like all these things, like if you look at them on a trajectory, they're actually gonna go just like this. And here's zero. Here's zero right here. So it's like, you gotta start asking these questions. You gotta start really, really picking and choosing your projects that you're gonna get involved in wisely. Let's now come back to BTC. What's happening with Bitcoin? Well, I've actually been diving into the history quite a bit, and I'm fascinated. First off, Roger Ver has been missing from Twitter since April of this year, April 27th, which is very concerning. Now, I know that he went and spoke at the Nomad Capitalist event live. I don't know if he's just done with Twitter, but man, Roger, if you ever find your way to this channel, and if you ever find your way to me, I'd like to apologize. I was one of those idiots who in 2017, 2018, 2019 thought you were trying to steal Bitcoin and thought that you were this shady figure that was coming in and trying to steal Bitcoin. But in reality, what you realized, and I just didn't want to hear this at the time, is that the developers, all the best developers from Bitcoin had already left. All the original developers are gone. They're all working on ETH projects, ETH chain stuff, or some other project over here. But you didn't know that. Most people don't really realize that. There's not a lot happening on the GitHub for Bitcoin. There's not a lot of changes happening. There's no updates being occurring. So one could argue that all we really need is that for Bitcoin to get popular again and the network to get congested again, and it's the same problem again. So the only real narrative, and I was talking about this years ago, the only real narrative that Bitcoin has is this like sort of digital gold, which is, it's a weak narrative, don't get me wrong, but I think it'll make it through because it had first mover advantage in a marketplace. And if you understand marketing, then you understand what I'm saying right now. And if you don't understand marketing and you love Bitcoin and you're a Bitcoin fanboy, then you're probably not even listening to anything I'm saying right now. But I will say that like there's really no big exciting thing happening for Bitcoin. Now, before you get started on me, you're gonna say, oh, but Lightning Network, Twitter just announced that they're gonna start through Lightning Network accepting Bitcoin. That's not Bitcoin. Like, you gotta understand something, is that as soon as I come over here and create this completely different protocol that is laying on top of Bitcoin and transacting with Bitcoin, it doesn't make it Bitcoin. So Bitcoin doesn't all of a sudden have Lightning capabilities. That's an entirely different product with an entirely different management team and CEO and owner to it that is now claimed ownership and utilizing and leveraging Bitcoin. That's not Bitcoin doing that. So just make sure you understand the difference between that, okay? And so there's nothing really happening with Bitcoin right now. It's like a nothing burger. There's nothing exciting. I mean, you don't see people, you see very little of it, people wrapping ETH on Bitcoin. But how many people and how many projects are you seeing? Well, I guess you could say, how much liquidity are you seeing of wrapped Bitcoin on ETH? A whole lot more. Just go look at Uniswap, go look at these pools, and you'll see that people are trying to wrap Bitcoin onto ETH all the time, but there's not a whole lot of people that are trying to wrap ETH on Bitcoin. And the reason why is because it's too hard. It's way too fucking hard. So that should already tell you that like Bitcoin, in my eyes, is pretty much dead in the water. The reason why I apologize to Roger Ver is because I didn't realize what he was trying to do, and I didn't like it. I thought he was trying to steal it, and I was once again just a money hungry little shit, just like a lot of people coming into crypto, thinking that I knew better than this guy who was one of the original gangsters, one of the original people who helped make Bitcoin what it was. He was in the Bitcoin forums. I was not. So this guy understood a whole lot more than me. He was in the meetings, the mining meetings, right? When there was the SegWit stuff going on, and when there was the chain rollback from the hacks. Like, this is a guy that was involved in those conversations, had a seat at the table. I did not. Okay, so shame on me for attempting to claim ownership over Bitcoin just because I wanted my bag to get pumped. Like, you see how psychotic and crazy, like, you wanting your bag to get pumped makes you behave? It makes you behave like a complete idiot. Anyways, what he was trying to do with Bitcoin Cash, which I think the only mistake he made, was literally calling it Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin itself is an awful name. Richard Hart, I know, shares this sentiment as well. Bitcoin Cash was a stupid name as well. Should have just gone with something different, because you lose people in the linguistics. As soon as they hear the word Bitcoin and then cash, they just think, oh, like, it's just like this huge letdown. So he should have moved away from that name, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes they made as to why the adoption isn't there. And Bitcoin.com is still doing amazing things. And so I have no problem with some of the linguistics they attempted to use to, I guess, convince people and sway people into Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin. And again, like, even me saying that, it's too long of a word. It's too much. There's too much going on with that. But some of that we could argue about and debate about for sure, some of his tactics. But overall, I think what he had good intentions, right? He had good intentions at the end of the day. And I think that is what's missing in so many actors in the space right now. They don't have good intentions. They don't give a fuck about you or the space or sovereignty, which is, again, what the whole movement was about to begin with, is sovereignty. And they don't care about that, dude. They want to make money, and they're going to dump on your heads, and they don't give a fuck. Yeah, so there's not a whole lot going on with Bitcoin. And so Roger just tried to create a better Bitcoin with Bitcoin Cash and do what the white paper even said it was supposed to do, which is a decentralized peer-to-peer cash system. And that just is not what Bitcoin is today. So it's like, it's conflicting up against his own white paper. Deal with it. He tried to create that, and who knows how well or how not well they're doing right now. In terms of market share, I'd just say they're not doing that great. But anyways, that's where that came from. And so ETH, let's take a look at ETH and what's going on there. We've got all these updates. We had the, 15.59, London, all these updates, and they were supposed to tackle the big issue that everyone's complaining about, which is gas fees. Gas fees are never going to be fixed. And there's two reasons why. Is because one, they're not really motivated to fix gas fees because the early developers, the early miners, all those people are rich as fuck. Secondly, all these people that are ETH mining right now are not making money. Like, there's not a lot of money to be made mining ETH. Now, there's a lot of money to be made GPU mining other coins, right? Raven coin and stuff like that, which is why those are so popular. But to mine ETH, it's actually not that profitable at all. You're losing quite a bit. The minute you get started, you're losing. The development that's happening here, one could argue, is maybe happening too quick, and maybe they should slow down. But I mean, 2 years to roll out these changes that they rolled out, and it did nothing. I mean, one could argue that maybe there's nothing that's ever going to change there in terms of the fees and the system, right, and how it operates with gas fees. But anyway, so this is a big draw on climate as well, and the economy, right? It takes a lot to mine Bitcoin, right? It takes less, but still quite a bit to mine ETH as well. And then all this stuff that's essentially launching off of ETH is DeFi. And some are on their own networks now, right? Like Solana's got its own network. Polk, I think, is trying to build out or does have its own network, right? So all these things, BNB, they're all essentially just going out and making all these additional chains, right? Which, when is this going to end? Because how many of these do we really actually need? Poly and Matic. What else do we got? I mean, we got all kinds. So we've got now dozens of chains that are going out and trying to create their own subchains. So like, when does the insanity stop, right? It's just layering and layering and layering and layering and layering, yeah? And so I put DeFi under ETH because a lot of DeFi is on the ETH chain, but a lot of it's not. Same goes for NFTs. A lot of these are on Solana now. A lot of these are on other chains, Matic, etc. But a lot of them are also still under ETH. A lot of the developers are, because again, at the end of the day, is like, we started here with this freedom project, but it's like, man, we need to make money. Like, remember when who's the big proponent for Bitcoin? Nopolis or whatever the his name is. Who cares about that guy? That guy's gotten completely weird. He was like one of the original guys. Remember when like everyone had to donate Bitcoin to him because he had no money? he was broke. I think what happened is that a lot of people got involved in Bitcoin, and then they saw like, okay, here we are, 5-10 years down the road, and nothing's really gotten done, and I got no money now. And I've been this advocate promoting Bitcoin, and I've got nothing for it. So unless I go and say with my tail between my legs publicly and say like, oh yeah, I got no money, guys, can you help me out? Because I've been promoting Bitcoin for the last 10 years. Kind of crazy. A lot of those people moved over here, like I said earlier, but now what's happening is a lot of people within this space are just staying here because they're all getting in the DAOs, they're getting on the boards and whatever else is going to happen, and they've been siphoning money from retail. They've just been siphoning money from retail. How many of these have gotten hacked? How many of them have gotten some sort of vulnerability exposed and somebody ran off with a bunch of money or just said, haha, your chain sucks, here's what's wrong with it, and pointed out all these flaws after they got audited over and over and over again, got audited. So yeah, the point is that to look at the crypto space as a whole, I mean, like, something fundamentally needs to change because there's not really a whole lot of vehicles that are even speaking to the ethos of why crypto was created and this peer-to-peer cashless decentralized system. And so it's going to be funny because when the government comes and launches its central bank digital currency, they're going to probably be met with a lot of celebration because they're going to probably make a product that's even better than a lot of crypto stuff that claimed to be that it was like for the people, but it wasn't. It never was. It was for the few people that wanted to take the rest of the people's money, just like so many other things do. So anyways, just wanted to talk that through and give you my perspective on that. But if you like this sort of thing, then subscribe to the channel. It just takes a second. Click the bell notification, turn it to all. If you want to help us get more attention and build this community up in the algorithms, comment below. Hit the like button, and we'll see you again real soon in another video.